Welcome to the Slut Next Door podcast, where we dive deep into desire, unravel kinks and fetishes, and explore the deliciously naughty side of self-discovery. I'm Beatrix Vale, an erotic audio creator, and your guide to all things kinky and curious. So let's begin. So recently I asked my good boys and my Discord server what kind of podcast episode should I do next. And one particular one said, as someone who loves AI mommy, I'd love to hear more about where she came from, how she became a part of your work. And I realized that's a story I've never really told. So if you've spent any time in the erotic audio world, you may have noticed that a lot of creators are faceless, and I'm one of them. My work is built around my voice and kind of like the atmosphere I create and the psychological experience of listening. But even in a voice driven kind of medium, people still want something visual to attach to the experience. So that's where AI Mommy came from. If you've browsed my audio stores or seen the covers for my audios, you have seen her. She's the woman looking back at you from the artwork. And over time, she's kind of become the visual stand-in for my persona. And now it's not literally me, but it's a representation of the energy behind the voice. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about where the idea started, how the image evolved over time, and why faceless creators use visual personas in the first place. And because for me, AI Mommy really wasn't just about making cover art. She really ended up becoming a really useful tool for building the world around my voice and giving listeners something concrete they could imagine when they're inside the fantasy. So today we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk about the story behind her. Now, before I get into that, I'm going to do my little segment where I talk about what's currently making me feel like a goddess. So it's actually something that happened last night and it's kind of just stuck with me. I was reading a line from the book, Women Who Run with Wolves, and I am loving the book. Love it. But I read something last night that really just stayed with me. And so she says that the idea that a woman's light doesn't live behind her eyes, it lives deeper. It lives in her ovaries and the part of her that creates, that feels, that knows before thinking. So she's kind of talking about just that kind of magical intuition, and it lives in a woman's ovaries. And I've been sitting with that. And when I first read it, it of course tickled my brain, but it also made me think about my audio work, and it made me think about sexuality too. And it really kind of made me think about, when have I ever worked from that energy? So that kind of energy that doesn't think, just feels. And I had to be reminded of, I think that's where my voice finds its power, is from the ovaries. So I'm able to tap into that mystical part of my female side when I'm recording, because I do believe that there's a lot of times now while I do write scripts, there's sometimes I'm improving, or I might make a sound or change the tone of my voice or add in a line, and I didn't plan for that. And so I do look at that as more of an intuitive action. And I love the concept that my feminine power comes from that deep place. Is so powerful. And I can't remember if I've mentioned this in this segment before, but I'm really on this divine feminine energy kick lately. It's just been like really sitting with me and won't go away. But that's not, when I say that, that's not a bad thing, of course. But it's something I just can't shake and something I want to dig into more. And I think that's why I started this book as well. But what's so interesting is that, we as women literally have this life portal between our legs, this powerful thing. And I heard someone on social media say, woman did not come from man's rib. That man came from between her legs. Um, and that's the kind of power I'm most interested in right now, especially in this time in my life. So that is what's currently making me feel like a goddess, having intuitive light and energy within my ovaries. Now, let's go back to AI mommy. And so I probably should say that AI mommy is the AI persona that I created with someone, and we'll get into that. So when I say AI mommy, it just means the character, the visual character that I use in my brand. So here's why she was created. So first we need to talk about, just being an audio creator. It's not rare for an audio creator to remain faceless. There's a variety of reasons, but the way I do audios, especially in the hypnosis space, it's a very heady um, place where a lot of people, I would say like a lot of listeners don't even care about what I look like, the woman behind the mic. It's really not about that. They just love audio. They love their mind being stimulated, so the visual is not even needed. But I post in places like Clips for Sale and other clip stores, and those are very visual marketplaces. Usually people are selling videos and, they've got very eye-catching covers. So it just made sense to me to have a persona for this reason. And also, really, I remember thinking I just wanted someone to be my profile picture, just kind of that stood for my brand. And I think it's really important, even if you're a faceless creator, you still need some kind of visual branding. I think without that, your work can kind of just disappear. When you're in somewhere like the clip stores, uh, we also have the knowledge of how powerful logos are and things of that nature. You can think of a brand name and boom, the image of their font pops up in your head. So, having any kind of visual to me was important. You can think about book covers and album art for music albums, film posters. Uh, I don't know enough of the jargon and language behind like marketing or whatever, but all these things, we know how important it is. So that really is why I decided to spend time birthing AI Mommy. So let's talk about the origin story. Um, so I remember, at least for me, this was around the time when AI generation of images were just like really big and it was new and exciting and everything. And I didn't quite know how someone would create an AI character and have it be consistent each time because and I can't remember who I got this info from, but I had understood that it was pretty impossible to generate an AI image and have it be the same image, like the same face, and it just be uniform. Anytime you tried to generate her more, it would be similar, but not similar enough. So I was kind of just on the hunt for. I knew I wanted this persona, this character to look realistic because I could look out into the audio world and I saw a lot of other audio creators using more animated visuals for their personas. And I really didn't want that. It seemed too cartoony, and I don't feel cartoony. I liked the idea of AI because it looked realistic. And I remember liking how some AI looks realistic, but you can tell it's AI, if that makes sense. So, and I really can't remember how we started having this conversation, but what I'm thinking is probably I was talking about it in my Discord server, and a fan, if you will, it's weird to call him a fan at this point because I do feel like a friendship was formed. Um, we're gonna, for the sake of him staying anonymous, we will call him John. Okay, so John, uh, we had worked together on some custom audios, and it was very collaborative. So, our connection was there from doing those custom audios. And I think he offered to me, I can't remember if I asked him or he offered, but he's like, pretty much like, let me try it out because he is very knowledgeable within anything techie. And so I'm like, cool. And I remember we got on the phone and he wanted to kind of know, well, what do you want this woman to look like? And it's a really weird question because I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted her to look like. How do you describe that? So we kind of just walked through it. I knew I wanted her to have dark hair and darker features because I'm a little biased towards it. I like women that have darker hair. I think they're more beautiful. And just like that's just my preference with the female form. And I knew that I wanted her to look milfy. Like I wanted her to look like she could be 30s or older because obviously I do a lot of mommy content. So I didn't want her to look young. I didn't want her to look like she was in college. And so for me, milfy, if I'm thinking about, I'm in the erotic game, so I need to exaggerate her body. So I knew I wanted her to have bigger breasts because, I mean, come on, mommy, we're trying to pull in that direction. And I wanted her to be curvy. I definitely didn't want her to be like a super skinny mommy. I wanted her to have an hourglass frame. I wanted her to have hips. I wanted her to have the breasts. I wanted her to be what people think about when they think of a hot MILF, right? And so I'm trying to remember. I don't think there were any other directions I gave him at that point. My memory is terrible, so I could be forgetting something, but I definitely remember telling him these things. Look milfy, dark hair. And so he created some. And I remember at first, the first ones that came out, she was looking rather Latina, which is fine, but that wasn't what I had in my mind. And so I was like, okay, we got to take away the Latina flavor a little bit. And so he did his little magic with the AI. And yeah, he had created just amazing pictures, a variety of different kinds of AI mommy. And I think we called her together. I can't remember if it's his idea or my idea of calling her AI mommy, but you were like, here's mommy. And we both fell in love with her. We loved her. So AI mommy was technically created by a fan. And so to fast forward a little bit, I would start feeling really bad because I'd be like, I need some more images of AI mommy, and he would happily generate them. He would probably happily generate them to this day. But with a little research, I did find this great program called Higgs Field that is able to duplicate, lacking the words, like create other versions of someone. Basically, it attacks the problem that I initially had, and that it's impossible to generate the same person in AI. And so I took over the generation of AI mommy. It's pretty. I highly recommend the program. It's really great. It's great for beginners like me. That don't know what they're doing. And so now I take that over, and that's AI mommy, and she's just kind of stayed the same. I've noticed she does kind of change, just like slightly, but it definitely looks like the same AI character, I think. And she's just kind of turned into the avatar of my fantasy space. And I'm super pleased with what she's turned into, because I do think that she matches the energy of my voice. She looks maternal, yet super sexy. Um, I remember telling John, the fan that helped generate her, I wanted her to have more like blue eyes with those dark features. I thought that was like so hypnotic. And maybe that's a personal thing. I've always been jealous of women that have blue eyes and dark hair. I just think that's so unique and gorgeous. So maybe that's a little bit of me wishing I had that. But yeah, I think she, for me, just really captures my brand, my persona, and works as a perfect visual proxy for me. And I get to say faceless, and I get to have this perfect milfy looking AI mommy represent my brand. And I think what's great about using AI as a persona is it's so easy to fit her into different themes or moods of different covers. You're able to change the mood and the dominance level, what she's wearing. Is it more nurturing mommy energy, or is it goddess energy? And you're able to just push out all these images and have different ones to choose from. There are some like roadblocks though. Like, for example, yesterday I was working on, or I had finished up recording a file where I conditioned the listener to make an ahegao face, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the face you see it a lot in the gooning community. Like, women will stick their tongue out, roll their or cross their eyes, maybe even drool, and that's called an ahegao face. And so I created this hypno where I'm conditioning the listener to need to make that face, basically. And I was thinking, how cool would it be to have AI mommy making an a hey gal face? Well, it just totally did not work out. If you have experience with prompting AI, it can be a little wonky sometimes. And going back to working with John, the fan that helped me create AI mommy, I remember us having so many like bloopers that we would laugh at. He We played around with having like nudes of AI mommy. So where we would have the nude version of her, and I remember he was doing like some like a batch of AI mommy and her bare ass. And his AI model, it got some great ones, but also you can kind of see how AI takes something and just does not understand what it should be doing. It created just a very scary version of AI mommy where she is very short and stubby. And I believe her ass took up her whole, like basically the whole body, it felt like. But, so there's a lot of like bloopers, and that's fun. It becomes, in my opinion, like fun to show my fans the bloopers of AA Mommy. But generally, and I would say I probably should go back and look, but it's been at least a couple years since I started using visual image AI generation. And I would say that I do feel like it has improved immensely since I first started. And I'm not even the one generating them. I'm talking about looking at the batches that are created. It definitely has improved. It still struggles with hands sometimes. Um, but anyway, so that is the birth of AI Mommy. I always joke with John that he is the dad. He's daddy of AI Mommy. He is her god. Um, I would imagine it was really fun for him to probably a couple things because I know how sweet he is. He probably took a lot of joy in helping me as an artist, and I'm sure he had just the funnest time creating these sexy versions of AI Mommy too. I would imagine that for some of my fans, they probably don't really care what I'm using for images on my audio covers, and that's totally fine. But I do think that some people have appreciated the addition of her. I think that they maybe even start to imagine the image of her when they hear me. And I think that's really awesome because, like I said at the beginning, I create fantasy. And so if I have this quote unquote woman that I visualize in my brain, this milfy woman, and you're picturing her while you're hearing my voice, I think that's amazing. I really do. I love it. I think having this visual trigger for people that like it or are more drawn to visual aspects, I think it's a great thing. And for me as an artist, just overall adds to my brand, adds some depth to it when that visual trigger is needed or preferred. And I actually have a really, really amazing story related to AI Mommy that I had to bring up in this episode. I have checked with this fan to make sure that he was okay with me mentioning it on this podcast episode, and he totally was. I'm going to keep him anonymous, of course. But AI Mommy, the persona that I use for my brand, she lives in the flesh, technically. So she is tattooed on a man's body. And so let me explain this to you because I think it's a really beautiful story as well. This particular fan, you guys know I hate that word. I just hate using the word. It makes me feel corny. Um, but I can never think of a better word to replace it with. Anyway, this fan, he's been with me almost from day one. I mean, so close to day one, it's not even funny. We have, I know a lot about him. I would say he knows a lot about me, especially compared to my other fans. We have shared things with each other. He was around when I was doing phone sex sessions. So we've spoken on the phone. And I would say when you do phone, you get to know people. Well, obviously, because you're having conversations. And this particular fan just has always been very open, ultra supportive, just overall sweet. We've mentioned multiple times that we consider each other friends, like we would be friends in real life. He's just the sweetest thing, and I just adore the hell out of him. So I know through our conversations that I have done a lot for him on a personal level, as in helped him explore sides of himself, helped him accept parts of himself, help him reflect and be able to look inside and be okay with what he sees. We've done some really deep work together. And so eventually he has an idea of, I actually don't really know the story, but I'm assuming he's like, I'm going to get a tattoo. And so he decides to get a tattoo of AI mommy. And really, I wouldn't say it's like, I'm going to get AI mommy because I love Beatrix that much. I don't think that's really the point of it. What I think his tattoo is about is, and he did explain this, it is a visual representation of the growth that he has made in this stage of his life where, that some of that acceptance has happened. And yes, it's the persona that I use for my brand, but it's not all about me because he couldn't have made that growth without himself, without his own inner work. And, I'm not giving myself credit in saying that I didn't have a hand in that, but the tattoo isn't like, oh my God, I'm Beatrix's number one fan, so I'm going to get a tattoo of her. It's definitely not that. But I think, and let me tell you, the tattoo is fucking gorgeous. The guy, whoever did his tattoo, should win an award. It is the most gorgeous tattoo. It just looks like a gorgeous woman on his body. And it's amazing. So yeah, I had to bring that up on an episode about AI mommy because that it still blows me away. I love being able to say that AI mommy lives in flesh somewhere. And if I could just touch that tattoo, take a picture with it, oh my God. Because I just think it's amazing. It still blows me away, and it still makes me feel so warm and fuzzy inside, for many reasons, but to know that I have made a difference in someone's life at such a deep level. Honestly, it could almost bring me to tears just talking about it, but I'm not going to cry. And again, the tattoo is amazing. amazing. I wish I could show you guys. It's so pretty. I mean, but you see, if you look at my avatar, you see how gorgeous AI mommy is. Just imagine that in flesh. It's gorgeous. So, yes, that is one of my fun facts about AI mommy, one that I will never, ever, ever forget, that I just think is super cool. So I wanted to bring up in this episode that there actually are some like AI ethics, like debates out there, especially within other worlds of erotic audio. And I was going to really touch on that and really unpack it, but I decided to just say this. I've always marched to the beat of my own drum. I've always done that. And, I have my own personal opinions about it, and that's all that matters. That's all I'm going to say about that. I really don't understand what the overall issue is, but I use what I use, and I stand on that ground proudly. So, the future of AI mommy, where could AI mommy evolve? I really, I think she evolves all the time. I think that she becomes more and more refined every time she's created. I have animated her a little bit, and those have always been super fun. Um, so maybe there's more animation in the future. I don't know. I can't take on any more knowledge learning on how to do something like that, but maybe it'll happen one day. Um, maybe there is some more visual storytelling around her. Like I would love for an audio to really make her come alive. I don't know how that would be. I don't know what that audio is, but I've always thought that would be really, really, really cool. Um, maybe AI mommy becomes like mythology of Beatrix Vale. I don't know. I don't know what her future is, but it is, of course, exciting to think about. She definitely is not going anywhere. I love her, and that's all that matters. So that is the story behind AI mommy. And she wasn't created to replace anything, and she definitely wasn't created to trick anyone into thinking that that is me. Absolutely not. She was created to solve a very simple problem, which is that audio lives inside the ears and inside the brain, I think. But sometimes the internet calls for some visual things. People scroll, people see images, and sometimes an image can become a doorway into something they need to experience, like my voice. And so for me, AI mommy became that doorway. AI mommy is like the visual mask that my voice wears, and a symbol of Beatrix Vale. And I always hope that she has become something that my listeners can anchor to in fantasy when they hear me speaking. Building experiences that feel immersive and intentional and personal. That is what this whole craft is about for me. And AI mommy became something that I thought was needed for my brand. So AI mommy is just one small piece of my brand. I like to think of it as she's the face that people see at the entrance. And the voice is what happens once they step inside. So, thank you so much for listening to this little lore about who AI Mommy is. If you have no idea who she is, if I'm new to you, check out the link and the description of this episode, and that'll take you right to all the places that you need to go. And again, thank you for listening, and until next time. And that's a wrap for this episode of The Slut Next Door, where we dive deep into the raw, unapologetic truths of human desire. If you loved what you heard today, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a juicy moment. Want to connect with me outside the podcast? Click the link in my bio, where you can find lots of juicy content and options. Until next time, I'm Beatrix Vale, your Slut Next Door. And I'll see you in the next episode.